Good afternoon. I'm going to talk about something a little bit different, take a little bit of a different tack to some of the previous speakers, and even think a little bit out of the box on the subject matter we're talking about, Zionism, identity, antisemitism. I'd like to go back a few years. I believe it was 3 or 4 years, and I was working with the Minister of Agriculture, Yair Shamir, who's the son of the late Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir. And I took him to an interview, I believe it was with the Jerusalem Post. And I can't remember exactly what the discussion was. It was something about diaspora Jewry. I can't remember the question, but Yair answered there were 30 million Jews in the world. Now, I don't know, there are various ways of counting Jews. I know, if you ever go to the Jewish Agency, you see this big map of the Jewish world, and it says they have two numbers. They have a recognized Jewish community and a wider Jewish community, etc., etc. Sometimes between 12 million, 15 million, 30 million I never heard. So I said to him after, I said, yeah, where did you get this number, 30 million from? So I said, so he said to me, why not? There are 30 million Jews in the world. I said, yeah, depending how you count, between 12 and 15 million. So he said, but you're not counting the Anusim. So I said to him, what do you know about the Anusim? So he started telling me that he met with someone who had done a lot. Does everyone know what I mean by Anusim? Maranos, crypto Jews, this sort of conversos, exactly. So basically, he said to me, I met with this person who'd done a lot of research in this subject, and he found at least another 15 million Jews in the world. I said, okay, that's interesting. He said, you have to meet with him. He knew I would be particularly interested in that because I come from the Spanish and Portuguese Sephardic community. My real name is Perez. The Anusim, the Inquisition, the forced conversions are very much part of our family history, Jewish history, or at least, it's not as well known as perhaps it should be, but it's, certainly in my community, it's a very central part. Anyway, so I met this guy, a very fascinating guy. Doesn't come from a Sephardi background, but travels around the world, and he used to go to conferences in Latin America, in the US, in Spain, Portugal, Italy, France, and he used to have a row of people coming to speak to him with a similar message again and again. He said, you're from Israel, you're a Jew, so am I. While other guys would pull out a Magen David, look around, and put it back in discreetly. And he would say to them, I don't understand, but you say you're a Jew, what does that mean? So they explained to him the history of the forced conversion, the ancestry, and the fact that many of these people now consider themselves Jews. So he once asked one of them, how many of you are there? Thinking, okay, I've met quite a few hundred, maybe there's a few thousand, tens of thousands. The guy answered tens of millions. So he said, I don't believe that. Come on, that's not true. So he said, test it. So this guy spent about 8 years, over $1 million, really getting to the nuts and bolts of the issue, employing the top demographers, researchers, market researchers, conducting polls to understand the following statistics. That there are well over 100 million descendants of Spanish and Portuguese Jewish communities. Then the next question to ask is, who are they and what do they want? Polls suggested to us, we did polls of tens of thousands of these people, 14% self-identify as Jewish. And the 30% are not quite there, but they're interested to learn more about Judaism, Jewish history, and the state of Israel. Now, what does that mean? That means that there are tens of millions of people outside of the formative Jewish world who want in some way to reconnect with their Jewish roots, their Jewish identity, Zionism, and the state of Israel. There are, I would argue, hundreds of thousands of Hispanics, Latinos in the US as we speak, with the names Perez, Gonzalez, Garcia, Fernandez, Lopez, Rodriguez, who have Jewish ancestry. We have a database of 21,000 names, which demonstrate whether someone has Jewish identity or not. Now, why am I telling this to you at an event talking about Zionism? Because there is a tremendous opportunity with the 21st century. Why the 21st century? Because there are new technologies, DNA testing, genealogical advances, and simple Google searches. Every single day, I'm contacted by tens if not hundreds of people who say to me, I just Googled my strange family tradition that we never ate milk and meat together. I Googled my strange family tradition of never eating pig. We were told pig is bad for your health, so we never ate it. We lit 2 candles on a Friday night. We never pointed to the sky at night. Anyone know why? When do we, before we had watches, when did we used to point to the sky? What's the Shabbat? The three stars. So that was one of the things the Inquisition would look for. So I met a girl who every time she would point to the sky, her mother and her grandmother would slap her on the wrist. That comes down from a tradition. But that was something that they didn't do. Anyway, going back to the central point, the last century we did something remarkable. The Jewish people did something absolutely ahistoric. Speak to any historian, you speak to any demographer, and the fact that we were a small, oppressed, tormented, massacred people who returned after 2,000 years to our ancestral and indigenous homeland is not just the improbable, it's almost the impossible. So where do we go from here? Where do we go from here with Zionism? We ingathered the Jews from the 4 corners of the earth back to our ancestral homeland, but there were many others that unfortunately were ripped from us during that long sojourn in the diaspora. My personal belief, and we have the support of the Prime Minister of Israel, President of Israel, the Chairman of the Jewish Agency, and many other figures, that the next stage of Zionism is to help those that were disconnected from us along the way, the millions, the tens of millions, and not just from a Spanish and Portuguese background, but others, who would like in some way to reconnect with the Jewish people and the state of Israel, to help them also find their place in Zionism. You can imagine the tremendous potential that this would give us. Fighting BDS, fighting anti-Semitism, demographics, re-energizing Jewish communities, aliyah, diplomatic relations, economic relations, tourism. This is a tremendous opportunity. The other side of the equation, the descendants themselves are reaching out to us. I don't know how many of you have ever met someone that I know, especially in the US. People always say to me when I tell them what I do, they say, yes, I remember I was in a cab one day, taxi, do you call it cab? Yeah. A taxi one day, and this guy said to me, oh, you're Jewish? Yeah, I know my family was Jewish. Or someone who just, this is happening all the time. So what I believe that we all must do as the formative Jewish community, as passionate Zionists, is help these people reconnect, because our reconnection can only strengthen Zionism. And first of all, it's a moral, ethical, and even halachic undertaking. But more than that, it can have so many positive ramifications for us and can strengthen Zionism, and is the game-changing moment of the 21st century. Thank you very much.